The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com, IgnitionAPG.com, PlayUSA at PLAEUSA.com, and Sorinex Exercise Equipment at Sorinex.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery's straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 105. Iron Game Chalk Talk is a weekly podcast where I bring you experts in the field to talk shop. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube or join the mailing list at ronmckeefery.com to stay up to date with the latest guests and anything else that I have going on. This week, I have Mike Srock with us. Mike is the head strength coach at Byrnes High School in South Carolina. Can't even begin to count the number of state championships that they've had. He has done a fantastic job. Known him for several years. Had a couple of his athletes come through our programs, and they are always well prepared and completely understand what the weight room is all about. We talk a little bit about training the multi-sport athlete, about how he's been able to build kind of a dynasty there at Byrnes, and several other things. So I know you're going to get a ton out of this episode. Before we get started, we want to make sure we recognize all of our sponsors: Elite Form, PlayUSA, Ignition APG, and of course Sorinex. And Mike is speaking at the Summer Strong Conference. I'll be going. We leave tomorrow. And so if you have not registered for this conference, you are missing out. I am so excited to finally get a chance to go down there. They moved the date mostly to benefit the college and pro strength coaches. And so if you have not planned or you are can be in that area, do not miss this event. Several greats, including Mike, will be speaking, but just the people that will be in attendance are fantastic as well. And if you're unfamiliar with Bert and the rest of the Sorinex gang, they are top-notch, fantastic people that are lifters, that understand our field, the competitive athletes, and it's just a who's who of great people. And so make sure that that you register now for Summer Strong 8, and I'll see you there. Lastly, Strength Coach Basic Training is a online internship or online coaching education program that I've created. If you're a young strength coach, I have all the lectures that we present to our interns. Just got a new batch of interns in, and they go through these lectures, assignments, projects. And then it's just a community of coaches. So I think there's over 180 plus members now in the group. And so as a young strength coach, having the ability to be able to get some education, interact with other people that are in the same spot in the profession as you is paramount. And so if you're interested, go to strengthcoachbasictraining.com for more information. Want to get to Mike? Sit back, enjoy this episode, take lots of notes, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, guys, welcome back. If you have been in this profession for any period of time, then you definitely know the guy that I'm looking at right now on the screen. Mike Srock is the head strength coach at Byrnes High School down in South Carolina. He's been a friend through the years and a mentor and a guy that I've looked up to for a long time and for a lot of reasons. And we'll get into that in the show. But Mike, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, buddy.
It's great to be here, Coach. I really appreciate the chance to talk about what we do at Byrnes High. Thank you. Awesome,
man. Well, hey, let's get into it a little bit. You've been doing this for a long time, but what kind of got you in the business in the first place? And what's the route that you've taken to land there at Byrnes? Been there for so long.
Way back in the day, there was no strength and conditioning per se. Usually, a month before football, one of the coaches got the head coach would say, all right, get these guys in shape. And basically that's how I fell into it. I was in charge back in the day. We were doing distance running, man. We were timing kids in miles and doing things like that. And, I just gravitated to the workouts and, started getting involved in it. And lo and behold, many years later, here I am at Byrnes High, after he's going on 18 years. So
that's awesome. Well, you've got the secret now. This is, this is as strength coaches, a lot of times we have, we have some qualms with the profession. One of the qualms with the profession is that the job security is low. It's hard to raise a family in the same community for an extended period of time. All sorts of things. You've been able to stay at a place for a significant amount of time, have success, but then also be in this profession for a long period of time as well. Kind of talk about your tricks there. How have you done it?
Yeah, I think to stay in our profession, it has to be a passion. Obviously, we all have that burning desire to succeed, and you have to be consistent and relentless. And that, I think that's been the key. We just you have to have a strong work ethic, and I mean that shows. I'm in a great situation now. Obviously, high school is a little bit different than college. But, because we can start with our players and our program, and we can formulate a climate in the area. And I think that's the key. It goes a little bit above beyond just the work we do on the field or in the weight room. I think there's a lot of life lessons that we teach kids. And
no doubt.
We formulate a climate. We build a climate.
Well, we talked about this a little bit the other day, you and I did, about, culture and like you said, it's not just the kids that are there right now, but their younger brothers and their families that are like, they can't wait for the lift-a-thon or the Breakfast of Champions or some event that's happening even within the weight room, which is cool. How have you gone about when early on you're like, hey, I want to build this thing into something special now? And the football program has been successful, and you've been a major piece of that, but the weight room by itself has been extremely successful as well. You decided at some point to make that way. How did you go about kind of getting your administration on board, your parents on board, the kids on board? What were some of the things? What are like 2 or 3 takeaways that you can recommend to young coaches saying, I want to replicate what you did down there?
Well, I think the first thing we did is we sold the administration on 2 things that we did that really opened the door for us. Is we didn't mention the word football at all, but what we went after was safety, because I'm preaching to the choir with you, Coach, and all of us know that how our field changes by the month.
Right.
New techniques, new this, new that. So number one, we said if we're going to get involved with this and show kids this, then we better have somebody in there that knows exactly what they're doing to keep them safe.
Right.
Second thing, and the big thing, was gender equity. The fact that we would be training our females, and they would have the same access, the same coaching, the same ability to succeed as anybody else. So that's what really got it going in our school district. Obviously, the success of the football program. The other the community wanted that. We're a relatively small community.
Right.
Blue collar, hardworking people that wanted the success, enjoyed the success, and were willing to trust our kids with it. And that's basically what it was.
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think this is something as a profession that we are maybe not doing as good of a job of. Is really pointing out. I mean, the 2 things that you touched on are safety and gender equity. I don't think there's anything better that you can point out from an impact that the weight room can make. And we talk about the amount of liability that exists in a high school weight room. Most places across the country is tremendous. And if any smart businessman or businesswoman would look at it and say, the potential payouts and liability and civil suits and things like that compared to just hiring a strength coach, it doesn't make sense not to do that. I think as a community, what are some of the things that how can we promote? Because you've been doing this for a long time. How can we promote it within our organizations to really kind of put out some position statements or some statistics and facts to our to these administrations that don't, these school districts that don't. I know your school district has, you said, I think 7 of the 8 have strength coaches or something. Mm-hmm. How do we go to these conferences and these, school districts and say that don't have strength coaches and make it from nothing?
But we're kind of building a model here in South Carolina because the strength coach is becoming more of the norm now than any place. As we spoke briefly before, we have 7 school districts in our county. They're small school districts, but each of the districts has a full-time strength coach. And again, the model for getting that done was safety. Just like you talked about, you are negligent if you put someone in there that has no idea what they're doing and someone gets hurt.
Right.
Unfortunately, in our society, it's very suit conscious.
Sure.
So, I mean, the first thing they're going to do, gosh forbid someone gets catastrophically hurt, they're going to say, what were you doing or why you were doing it? And if you don't have the credentials, the experience, certification to back that up, it could border on negligence.
Sure.
Again, the second thing was gender equity. I mean, it's a big buzz, Title IX, and I think that's the way we built this model. Then we added to the fact that, as we know, all of us in the profession know, that a trained athlete is less likely to get hurt, and he or she is going to recover a whole lot faster,
right,
than somebody that's undertrained or not even trained at all. So start and then put a little bit of statistics in there with opportunities. I mean, I think a big selling point at our place was that our female population for getting scholarships exploded once the girls started training on a year-round basis. Now, they still have to be a good volleyball player or a soccer player, but the fact that they're a trained athlete and they train and they devote time year-round just enhances their sport, and the opportunities just open up big time.
Oh, that's great. And to be honest with you, I didn't think about the gender equity nearly as much, and that's I think that's absolutely something that we should be collecting some data and some statistics on and tracking and presenting. I think I mentioned I spoke at the NSAA National Conference, and one of the things one of my slides was that we stand on the shoulders of giants. We stand on these strength coaches that created a profession from nothing. And yet we're right now, I think as a community, we keep waiting for the jobs just to happen instead of going out to new frontiers, to these school districts and these different opportunities and making a job out of nothing, and I think that's what we need to do in this situation is we need to make it a goal as a strength and conditioning profession to put a strength coach in every high school, because it's needed and it's well received. I think ultimately, probably early on, it was piecing together a lot of positions. It was football coach / PE teacher / strength coach, whatever. But it always comes back to money. How did you find ways to creatively find money to help fund the position in the early years? And how can some other people replicate that now?
It was a process. It started out as I started out when I was at Byrnes. I was also the internal suspension guy because they wanted to get my foot in the door. So basically, I didn't do anything during the school day except in-house suspension. And then once we started building the program, we saw the needs, and you alluded to it. I mean, we're blessed in our district. We have sports-specific classes, and a lot of our athletes are trained in the weight room and in our speed work during the school day for school credit. South Carolina, you need 24 credits to graduate. Well, our school is on a block system. That means we have 4 90-minute classes a day, which is perfect for the weight room.
Absolutely.
So most of our kids can earn 32 credits. You only need 24 to graduate. So those electives, we're very creative with the electives now. So we do almost all our major sports have their own PE class. We call it PE2 or PE3, depending on what year they're in, and we get it done during the school day.
Yeah.
So as that started to transpire, then that kind of opened the door. Well, we need him in there all the time, and that basically got it going.
Sure.
And we've used that as a model throughout our part of South Carolina, and it's spreading. And I don't want to get on a soapbox, but the old days of the PE teacher running the weight room are hopefully long gone. I still see it a little more than I'd like to, But
well, I think
we need certified, qualified people in that weight room, and we can be a difference maker.
Absolutely, and there's some fantastic PE teachers around, and it's a shame where physical education in and of itself has gone in our society, But you're absolutely right when it comes down to exercise prescription and selection and order and sequencing and all those types of things. We have to have people that are qualified and certified to do that, and I couldn't agree with you more. Talk a little bit more about that structure of that day. Now you got that 90-minute block. You say you have your football team in. That's your largest sport. Give me is there a block where maybe you have volleyball and soccer in there at the same time, or?
Yes, like I say, we have the 2 semesters, 4 classes a day. So in the fall, I'll have boys basketball, girls basketball, and softball in one block.
So they'll be in there at the same time. So how do you structure that in terms of what's that 90 minutes look like?
This is good. What we do is I keep the boys and girls apart. Obviously, this is high school, so we got to do that. So what I do is they're assigned to a PE teacher.
Okay.
So the way we set it up at Byrnes is I am not a certified teacher in South Carolina. We didn't want to do that because what happens then, as soon as they need a place to put a kid, bingo, well, we're going to put them in weightlifting.
Right.
So we don't do that. They're assigned, they sign up for a class with a PE teacher. Now, coach's permission, then I take those kids out of that class and we work on their particular sport. Also, what happens, like for instance, let's use the basketball. Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the fall semester, I've got the boys in the we're doing weight room and speed work. Well, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the girls, their basketball coach, we set it up so that's her planning period. She comes down and does basketball skills along with the girls in that class.
Wow.
Tuesday, Thursday, we flip it. The boys are with their coaches. We get the girls. So it works out good. It works out for all of us. Now, if the coach can't come down, if there's a faculty meeting or anything, then there's a PE teacher there for supervision, and they will run them through some sport-specific drills. But
I got you.
It is a super good situation. And every athlete at Byrnes trains in our weight room. We have 3 different weight rooms. 2 of them are more for PE, but we want every athlete to have the same opportunity, the same hands-on coaching.
Sure.
So they're all in the one weight room.
So now do you because you have maybe a football player that plays football, does basketball, and then plays baseball, are you keeping your programming fairly consistent across the board there? They're always in season to some degree. And how you kind of setting up your programming through those 90 minutes so that it's consistent.
It depends. Again, it depends on the time of the season. Like the basketball guys that are in there, they won't even start basketball till November. So if he's a football player, then he's right on track with the football workout. Once basketball starts, then we got to kind of back off him a little bit. But there's just. We encourage the multi-sport kids. I mean, I think especially teenagers, I think we specialize way too early.
Absolutely.
We try and encourage our kids to do at least 2 sports. And they're still going to be in the weight room because every sport trains in the weight room. We just have to be creative, be smart with the athletes and kind of adjust the program.
Sure.
But we certainly want them to play more than one sport.
So, when you're dealing with the sport in season then, or let's say off season, you got your 90-minute block. The first thing they're doing, are they coming in and they're doing a dynamic warm-up? What's your 90 minutes break down to?
It kind of breaks down like this. We're going to do some type of dynamic warm-up, and then we go right from the dynamic warm-up, we're going to do some type of speed work, some type of drill, a start, every workout, every practice session, every team, we're going to do some type of speed work after. And then we go right into the work of the day in the weight room. Again, basketball we're probably transitioning because they've had a pretty active summer. They've played a lot of travel ball. So in the fall, we're still putting a little bit of weight on the bar, but we're also going into a little more explosive phase. We'll probably spot those guys one day a week, and then the other days they're going to do like some type of a lunge or a step up.
Right. Now, So would conditioning fall into that?
Conditioning, we kind of leave to the sport coaches.
Okay.
Now, football, I take care of that. And we can talk about that later. We do it based off a VO2 max test kind of thing. So, but the conditioning, we work on the strength and the speed part, and nobody knows what their team needs more than the coaches. So in the fall, a lot of times the boys that'll be their big conditioning day for basketball on that Tuesday and Thursday when they're not with me.
I gotcha. Well, let's get into that. What you're talking of a VO2 max conditioning tests, or kind of basing off of that. What are you doing with the football program?
Well, this is we've had good luck with this. Originally, I used to do VO2 maxes, to get a reading on a kid to find out his capability, what his work capacity was. So that got very cumbersome. We had to then we would design a program, and they would have to work within a heart rate zone. That got real cumbersome because kid would come around and say, my monitor doesn't work. I forgot what range I was in. So what we started doing 2 years ago, I really simplified it. We take every kid and we give them a 6-minute test. We want that athlete to cover as much distance as they can in 6 minutes. Then I take the distance they've covered, and we do it on the track, and we divide the track into eighths, okay? I take the distance that the kid ran and divide it by the 360, the number of seconds. So now I've got just a general ballpark of how fast that kid can run in a second.
Right.
So I take the group and we'll divide it into 4. All right, so now I've got a max effort test on them. So the guys that are pretty close to ace together, I keep them clumped up in groups of 4. Now, just like with the weights, we're going to do sub-max runnings after that. So, and the distances can be 20 yards, can be 40 yards, can be 60 yards, but I've got a whole little program all geared out so that I know that if you're in group 1 and you covered the most distance, then I set up a cone for that day for group 2, group 3, group 4. And then on the whistle, those guys sprint. They have a certain, whatever the time is, whatever the distance is that day, I know that they should be able to sprint to that cone. If they're running 80% of their effort, they should be able to cover that distance. So it takes the guesswork out of it.
Sure.
If they don't make the time in the distance, then it's a no count. So we give them recovery time, and then they come right back to the start. So it sounds complicated, but it's a simple way. We've been doing it for football. 2 years like that, and great success. We train year round, so most of our guys, especially our we call them 7-on-7 guys, our wide receivers and DBs and linebackers and the skill guys. I mean, so in South Carolina, 7-on-7 is a second religion. I mean, we have an active schedule, so technically we're not really out of shape. So the only guys right at the start of summer is when I work my big boys.
Right.
And like I say, with the whole distance of the running program is never takes more than 12 minutes. But it's football specific. It's a little bit longer than a play, and you're going to get more recovery, so the energy system fills out. Kids like it. It might be 2 3-minute runs. It might be 6 1-minute runs. It might be 8 30-second runs, somewhere in that framework. But they have a goal. They get to the goal. Now, what I do halfway through the season by July, I don't want any Group 3 or any Group 4 guys. They should have been a little bit, pick their conditioning up, that we should have the whole group in Group 1 or Group 2, slightly behind them.
I got you. So when they're doing that initial evaluation, how are you able to motivate the high school kid that's like, you know what, if I run a little bit slower here, I'm going to be able to run a little bit slower times when we're training? They're smart enough to figure that out.
Peer pressure. I mean, they want to run. There's not many high school kids. You challenge them. They are competitive. They will max the lift every day. They will sprint 40s, but they fall until they pass out. So yeah, it's not too much of a problem. And again, as the summer goes, you can see which you push them up a little bit. It's probably not as accurate as a VO2 max test, but it's a whole lot easier. We get it done. I can turn it over. I can trust the interns to do it, So, I mean, I would be willing to share that with anybody that's interested. Give me shoot me an email and I'll show you how it was set up. But it was really so easy.
It sounds great. The we kind of finish these shows, with a bunch of advice, and resources. You've been doing this for a long time. And you've been around some great coaches. What's been the best piece of coaching advice that you've ever received?
Be just two things: be relentless and consistent. Just too many of these things. You can't be a flash in the pan if you're going to get improvement, and that goes back to the culture. We are fortunate that we start our kids this summer. I'll have to be the rising sixth graders start coming in. We have our own little league system. Like I say, every kid in the program, from seventh grade on, trains in the varsity weight room. We want to set that hook with him. I want him to go in there and see Marcus Lattimore's picture and see the great players we've had and put that in his mind. That could be you.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, be relentless and be consistent. I like that. What about, you mentioned that you had interns and you've hired, coaches through the years and things like that. What's been a question that you've asked coaches on an interview?
Just, I want to know how passionate they are. I think that's the biggest thing in our profession is the passion. It's especially with the high school kids. It has to be a positive. I want that kid to have fun in that weight room. I want them to work, but at the same time, I want them to come in there and compete. I want them to have a good time. Once the work gets going, we blare the music, and I want it to be enjoyable, and I want the coaches that are in there.
Right.
I want them to be part of that too. I had a tough time in the early stages. Position coaches would come in and they were more of a distraction.
Absolutely.
So we meet. I meet with each head coach. Before this summer starts, we're having the meetings now. What do you want your athletes to do in August that they're not? What can we focus on for you? And then we ask that one coach come, but if he comes, whoever comes in there is. I don't want him coaching per se. I want him to be the encourager. I don't want him standing in the corner with the paper or a cup of coffee or talking to the wide receivers while everybody else is working. So, I think to be passionate. I tell all the interns, I say, you will be successful in this field if you are the thermostat. We can never have a bad day. You can't come in there gloomy. You can't be in a bad mood. You can't be sick. When they come in, you be clapping, let's go, let's have a great day. It's a great day to be a Rebel. That's what I'm looking for. And it's funny, that comes across. A person's personality will come across.
No doubt.
Talk to a lot of interns, great background, smarter academically. I'm scared me because, oh boy, I'm not going to compete with this guy. He's reading this and this and this. But, if it's not a passion, it kind of sorts itself out.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You mentioned something in there I want to touch on a little bit. I think it's a great question. When you build something like you've built, there's a little bit of a tendency to, it's just the way we do things and nobody really messes with that. But you also kind of invite, as coaches come in that don't remember how it was or all the work that went into it, all of a sudden you take on a lot of new personalities through the years. How have you been able to rally those new coaches when they come in to believe in your program and to continually support it, like the people that have seen you build it from the ground up?
Well, it kind of sells itself.
Sure.
We're blessed. We get coaches move on to do head jobs, and we like to really. I think our football staff in particular, Coach Brian Lane, has done a great job of bringing Byrnes people come back into the program. And I love that because those were the guys that built the whole thing. That was the foundation. Now every year we're just putting a different level of building blocks on it.
Right.
Boy, when guys come back to coach that were players and did part of the system, that's the greatest thing in the world. And over the years we've done a good job with that at Byrnes. Sure.
Well, there was another thing that I had down that I want to come back to as well. We talked a little bit about off camera, but you just had a lift-a-thon last night. You talked a little bit about a breakfast of champions. what are some fundraising type events or some things that maybe some coaches in similar situations could take away and implement right away to bring in an extra $2,000, $5,000 into their weight room budget?
Oh, the best one for us is the lift-a-thon. Basically, it's just a bench press contest. We're testing their bench. We get every kid in the program. They've been working in the off season. They've been working since the end of football, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. So we bring them all in. Yeah, I think last night we had track wasn't there, some other dual sport guys weren't there, but we had put in 140 kids. We also hook it to a parent meeting, and what we do is we give each kid a sheet, and it explains what the lift-a-thon. We fund 2 scholarships out of the lift-a-thon, and what we want that kid to do is to take the sheet, and we don't want mom and dad just to give me a check for $30. I want the kid to go out in the community, introduce himself at church, tell his minister he's a Byrnes football player, go tell the neighbors, look, I'm playing football at Byrnes, and we have these 2 scholarships, and we're trying to raise money for that. And I want them to spread, because our football is hot in our community. Our fan base is absolutely incredible. So, but we want the young players to feel that. So we want them to go out in the community, ask grandma, ask your uncle, go to church, have mom take it to work. Sure. And it's just a great fun way to raise money. And then the kid also challenges himself, because on the form he has to declare, all right, I'm Mike Srock, and I'm going to bench 115 tomorrow night or in a month. Will you help me? Will you pledge a penny a pound? So it's awesome. And then we invite the community in. We usually do a parent meeting with it to set the stage for what's coming. Because we're fortunate. We're about to start spring football down here and set the stage for the summer and get it going. It's fun.
That's awesome.
It's easy to do. And again, shoot me an email and I'll send you all the stuff that we send home with it. So.
Well, that's the thing. It's about doing. It's not so much. I mean, people have been doing lift-a-thons for a long time. But the fact that you do it, and then what I think has been creative about the way you've done it is the way that you've involved a lot of other things with it, the parent meeting and the community, and not just setting a standard in terms of how much and all those types of things. I think those are big. Little things that get when you go back to culture and climate and program, that's how that all comes together, and supports your room. I totally agree with that. One of the things that I've always respected about you and is every time I've gone to a conference, I've looked up and Mike's been in the front row taking notes like crazy, man. And I know you're as advocate, you're as adamant and passionate about continuing your education every opportunity you get. I know you go to Summer Strong every summer. I know you're going there again you're speaking again this year. You go to as many conferences as you can possibly get to. You read, I'm sure, religiously, all those types of things. Talk a little bit about, how you've kind of, because it's easy when you've done it for a long time to kind of get set in your ways and continually do it the same way, because you got a system. It's easy to live within the system. How have you been able to challenge yourself to get outside of that system each and every year?
Well, I think, like I say, our field is my passion. So there's so much out there. And, I've been blessed over the years with associations, with different coaches that have influenced me. And I learn by I want to hear what you do, and then I want to come and see how you do it.
Absolutely.
I want to see the nuts and bolts. And I want to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's a big fault with us. Sometimes we fall into that habit of, well, we've had some success and we're just going to keep, and I hear it all the time. Well, I ask, why do you do this? And they say, well, we've always done that. Well, everything is changing in our field and you have to keep up.
Right.
And that's my hobby. I'm not a golfer. I'm not a fisherman. But boy, you want to talk about speed and strength? Just
do it all day long.
Clinic and off we go. So, yeah,
that's awesome. Talk about Summer Strong, because it's something that I'm going to for the first time this year. I've wanted to go every year. Just happened to, scheduling wise with recruiting camps and things like that, I haven't been able to do it. But this year I'm making it. I'm making it happen. Talk a little bit about that event.
Oh boy, Summer Strong you are going to really like this. This will be the 8th year. It started out with Richard Soren, old-time strongman, and he has a company, Soren X Exercise Equipment. Well, his son Bert they wanted to do something for Richard's birthday. So this is how it started out. He just said, well, let's invite some of the weightlifters and we'll do maybe get a workout and just have a cookout and just have some good time. And that's literally how it started. Well, everybody had such a good time the first year. The next year we all get together, everybody starts showing different things. Well, I do this drill, I do this drill. So we had a few call-outs with deadlift. Well, I don't think you could, strength coaches, I don't think you could do that 8 times. Well, yeah, I put the weight on the bar and here we go. So that was the roots of it, and it has just evolved now. It is in the South. It's the Arnold Classic of the South. I mean, you will be eating lunch with world champ. Well, the people coming every year, it's amazing. You're working with a world champion, a national record holder, legendary strength coaches from the past and now. I mean, it becomes by the time, and it's 3 days, so by the time Sunday rolls around, even I have information overload. And my kids hate it when I go because they know when I come back, I'm more on fire than ever. So I'll have a few things that I picked up, and
that's awesome.
If anybody ever gets a chance to come to Summer Strong, it is well worth your time. And be prepared to work now because it is not many PowerPoints at Summer Strong. It is all hands on and what we do and how we do it, and I want to see you try it. So
that's cool.
Anxious it'll be coming up again. It'll be the end. I think we did a good job this year. They moved it to May. I know in the past it was always in the middle toward the end of June, which was really when Richard's birthday was, but it prevented the pro guys and the college guys like yourself from coming. So it's going to be at the end of May now, and I think at the University of South Carolina, which is a beautiful venue, so we're going to have access to all those facilities. So it is going to be a great time.
That's great, man. I'm looking forward to it. Well, let's get into those resources. Let's talk. Give us a book, maybe inside strength and conditioning, and one outside of strength and conditioning that you recommend.
Well, like you say, I'm a reader, and the ones I really like, Strength Coach by Jeff Connors, now at East Carolina, was at North Carolina. I think he does some good things. In the Business, I like Joe Kinn's tier system. I think we all have read that. I'm a big fan of Mike Gentry.
Yep.
Chance to Win is a real detailed program I think you can follow.
Yeah.
So those are some of the ones that I lean on all the time.
Sure. Do you have one? We've talked, even just about retiring before and things like that. Do you have one outside of strength and conditioning that you kind of recommend coaches get out of the strength coach box and read?
I like a lot of the self-motivation books, self-improvement books. Nothing that really that jumps up, and I like to read like that. Just it's kind of refreshes me, keeps pushing me to improve myself.
Sure. What about is there any apps that you use for yourself or with your athletes?
I am technically challenged. I think we talked about before. I thought technology should have ended with the Post-it note. That to me, that was it. There couldn't be any better communication than writing a note and sticking it on somebody's door. But yeah, I use the different sites that are out there, and I think you're remiss, especially as a young coach, not to take advantage of that. I mean, the stuff that I used to have to do by trial and error to go visit and go see now is at the click of a finger. But I think I do my best learning when I come to visit you.
Sure.
Because I want to see, you see on the website or the internet, man, it's perfect. Well, we all know that they're not all like that. If you come to Byrnes, you're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when I go to Eastern Michigan, I want to see the warts.
Absolutely.
I want to see what you do with those guys and the cues. I think that's the big thing that you don't get on the apps or the website is the cues. I think that is really critical because I could be working with the kid for a month and it's just not clicking. You come in my weight room and you say something and just same thing in a different way, and it's like the light switch came on.
Right.
So, that's what I'm always looking at cues, and I learn no matter where I go, I'll learn something that I can say, in a different way. So I think you miss that stuff. I like to go. I want to see it. And
site visits.
Why are we doing that, and how do you do it, and more importantly, why? So I don't think you can. I think you can get a lot of information, but again, you have to. And this is where our experience comes in: is you have to decipher what's going to work for your kids. You know, I get the boys coming back from college, and hey, I get all the summer workouts. So I'm looking at it and I say, wow, you know, that's good because he's at UCLA. I mean, I think they get a little different kid than I get at Byrnes. Again, I think especially with the high school kids and all of us, really, you need to tweak. I think that's an ongoing process. I don't think any one program is the epitome of what you need. So I like to beg and borrow and tweak, and to me the cues and how to coach that stuff is more than just watching it on a website or trying to copy somebody's exact program. You know,
I couldn't agree
think that
more.
with our experience, that's the difference maker. Now I can see and it would not be unusual for me to a beautiful plan is all set up for a day and it's not happening. I'll change it in the middle of a workout.
Absolutely.
But again, that comes with our time. And I think when you go and see that stuff firsthand, I think that's where I learn. You know, I want to be in the Eagles weight room and see what you're doing on a leg day.
Absolutely.
That's where I get my best learning.
You can pick so much up just walking into a weight room without even talking to the coach. You can get ideas, and site visits are a major piece of our internship program. I make them all go take site visits because you're exactly right. It's one of the best ways to pick up and learn, and not only that, but then obviously you get into the networking and all the things that go associated with it. But well, buddy, we'll kind of end it on a motivational quote. Give me a great quote that you either have in your weight room or one that you live by.
Can I do two?
Absolutely.
I've got an old corny one that I've used for years, and it's the difference between champ and chump is you. And I'm sure we've all heard that, but I take that, I can twist that to talk to the kid about his effort, but more I look at it for myself. You know, we can be the champ in that weight room, or I can come in there and be in a bad mood. So it goes back to being the thermostat.
Yeah.
And I think that I say that a lot. My older guys that have heard it since 7th grade, they roll their eyes at me. They, all right, coach, we got you, you know. And then the other one I like out of Proverbs is iron sharpens iron. Yeah. I think we talk to our young men. We try and do a lot with them with their character, and we say, you know, what's your legacy going to be? Are you one of those guys that are going to be positive to other people, rub off on other people? It's not just, you know, being around somebody else that's strong. It's being about somebody that's good and does the right thing, and that's what I try and surround myself with good people, and carries over into the program. But I like those two.
Absolutely, man. Well, buddy, you live them for sure, and like I said, I mean, you know, many years I've respected, and you know, we've been to clinics together, and then to see how passionate you are, not only about the profession and you know what you do, but also what's really exudes and speaks volumes about you is how prideful you are in your community, in your school, in your athletes, the people that you work with. And you know, sometimes we forget that as coaches. We forget, you know, all the people that help us be and do what we love to do. You keep it front and center, man. So it's a motivation to me, and you know, I appreciate all that you do, buddy.
I appreciate the kind words. It's an honor being on a program, and anybody, I have an open door policy. I'd love to have anybody out there come on down, visit Byrnes High.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
We do, and hopefully we get the Iron Game Chalk Talk goes to a road show now. I come down with Vancouver. Let's film some of these locations. And I don't travel so far.
There you go. I hear you. I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to work on it. Well, I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Thanks to this week's guest as well as our sponsors for bringing this episode to you for free. Make sure to check out ronmckeefery.com, where you can join our mailing list, find the show notes, including all the links and resources mentioned, and information about Coach McKeefery's other products. While you are there, please join Coach McKeefery in the comments section thanking our guest for sharing. If you haven't subscribed to Iron Game Chalk Talk on YouTube or iTunes yet, make sure to do so. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome. Coach McKeefery can be found on Twitter at @RMcKeefery, on Facebook and YouTube at /Ron.McKeefery. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk.